Hello, Contrarians listeners. Here we are, reaching you from the United States of Dystopia, formerly known as the United States of America, a land where masked men have been empowered by the government to harass, kidnap, and exile immigrants, regardless of their immigration status. A land where the people in power encourage hatred and cruelty toward minorities. A land where a normal person, a person with empathy, a person with basic human decency, can feel overwhelmed by all the bullshit the current administration keeps throwing at us.
So that's why we're here. That's what we're doing with these special episodes. We're here to tell you, no, you're not crazy. It really is that bad. And also to tell you, you're not alone. We're here with you. And maybe, hopefully, make you feel a little better by talking about good movies that are relevant to this nightmare we're living through.
So welcome to Fresh Immigrants, Rotten Fascists, a new Contrarian series. Today, we're going to be talking about Sin Nombre. Hello, welcome to the 12th installment of Fresh Immigrants, Rotten Fascists, tackling now an immigrant-related movie, one that's a first-time watch for both Alex and I, starting to get into the more complicated, the murkier side of immigration movies. Now that we've taken care of, kind of the big feel-good hits of the first season of FIRF. Now it's getting a little more complicated. Alex, how are you doing? Are you ready to talk about what country are they from? Are they from Guatemala? Honduras?
I think they said Guatemala. Yeah, Guatemala. A Mexican town near the border of Guatemala. Tapachula.
Oh, man. I saw they name-checked a whole bunch of locations that I'm assuming are real as we follow this family trying to make it to the States. It's been a while, Alex, since we recorded. It's been, I want to say, a month?
Yeah, it's been a while.
We are ever so much closer to the midterms. Yes, Trump, our president, his party, the Republican Party, are kind of... There's that feeling that they're trying to set up things so they can claim election fraud in a few months.
Oh, yeah, undoubtedly.
The highlight over the past month or so is that Trump had one of those, instances where he addresses the nation just to spew bullshit, and it actually wasn't aired on a couple of networks, which was pretty impressive considering that, how much attention we devote to him whenever he decides to speak. But I remember the two networks, but two of them didn't air it, and then another one aired it, but was fact-checking him like in real time, and then even Fox News was airing it with like an asterisk next to it saying like, we do not endorse everything that he's saying. Again, just kind of like a sign that maybe enough is enough, and America's about to turn a corner. So we can only hope.
It's hard to have faith, but we'll see.
You got to have faith, Alex. If we don't have faith, then what do we have? We have nothing.
Fair.
You got to jump on that train and just head over to the promised land, like the characters in this movie. Sin Nombre, Alex. What did you know about Sin Nombre?
I confused it with a different movie, but I don't know which movie. I just know that I thought it was something different than it was. So nothing, apparently. I remember hearing about it when it came out, which was 2009. But yeah, I didn't know anything about it.
Did you recognize the name of the director?
I did not, and I do not, looking at it right now.
Okay, well, he has history with the Contrarians. I think the last time we talked about this, I don't know if we were recording, but I mentioned that he was the guy that wrote and directed. No, he just directed, I think, the first season of True Detective. All 8 episodes. That was him.
Oh, he wrote and directed Beast of No Nation.
Exactly. So he's been here before with yet another unflinching look at child soldiers.
Oh, he was a writer on the 2017 It, which is very unfortunate.
And then he's done a couple of things that I haven't seen. I think is it Jane Eyre? He had like an adaptation of Jane Eyre, and one of the Bond movies, one of the recent Bond movies, which I parted ways with James Bond a while back, so I didn't get to the Cary Fukunaga installment.
Oh, No Time to Die. Okay,
but this is where he started. This is his debut as a screenwriter and as a director, and I was surprised because this movie is in Spanish, and it deals with Guatemalan immigrants. So I think, understandably, I was expecting a Hispanic filmmaker behind the camera, but it's this dude. I mean, he speaks Spanish according to the information on his IMDb, but he is not Hispanic. Were you surprised when you realized that a white boy was behind this?
I guess I'm just now learning this. So I don't know. That type of shit can surprise you all the time. It certainly didn't feel like a white person making it in the way like
Yes.
a Tarantino movie does.
Man, let's see Tarantino's immigration movie.
Well, shit, yeah, and Beast of No Nation too. That movie is brutal, unflinching in its portrayal, and yeah, that's impressive that he's able to capture those emotions, being of Caucasian descent.
Makes you wonder what his James Bond is like. Putting Bond through the ringer.
Okay, just to be fair, yeah, with the last name like Fukunaga, I was like, there's no way this dude's just a full white guy. He's got a lot of white in him, Swedish and German, but also his father's a third-generation Japanese American. So,
okay,
which even still, like, probably potentially further muddies the water.
If he could be 100% Japanese, and I would still ask the question, I was like, does it surprise you that it's not a Hispanic?
Yeah, I just don't want to call him a fallen honky or something. So,
yeah. Sin Nombre, very well received, fresh on the tomato meter, certified fresh with 88%, 119 critic reviews. Popcorn meter, right there, also 89%, over 10,000 verified ratings. This one is popular on both sides of the spectrum as far as the tomato and the popcorn go. I watched it on YouTube, Alex. I rented it. And
same.
When it was over, I don't know if you do this, but whenever I watch something on YouTube, I'll scroll through the first few comments just to see what the reception from regular people is like, not from people that have podcasts or just standard critics. And obviously a lot of people just praising it, and a lot of people, just from sampling the first 50 or so comments, saying that it either reminded them of how they made it to America, or it reminded them of somebody else they knew that had made it to America in a similar fashion, which...
That's wild.
Yeah, isn't it? That somebody could watch the movie and go like, that is my experience. And not because it's sci-fi or completely outlandish, but still, it certainly brings the point home a little harder when you see somebody commenting and just really identifying with it that closely. I think I have good and bad things to say about this movie. I'm sure you do too. But let's hit our listeners with the synopsis for anybody who doesn't know what Sin Nombre is about, and then we can talk about it.
She was taking a chance to find a better life.
Aquí no hay nada para vos, Aira. Nada.
He was caught up in a world of brutality.
Syra, a Honduran teen, hungers for a better life. Her chance for one comes when she is reunited with her long-estranged father, who intends to immigrate to Mexico and then enter the United States. Syra's life collides with a pair of Mexican gang members who have boarded the same American-bound train. It's not as whimsical as it sounds.
No. This is not made by Pixar. That synopsis called her Honduran. So maybe it's both?
It could be.
Because she is not, she's struggling with her dad and her uncle. It could be that the dad is from Guatemala and she is from Honduras.
Yeah, okay, so I'm sorry. The gang is from a Mexican town on the Guatemalan border, and yeah, they're a Honduran family that are trying to get to America.
If you put if you ask me where each country in South America fits the map, I can tell you, because that's where I grew up. Once we get into Central America, then it just muddies. I can tell you the Guatemala and Honduras are in Central America, but this is the first time in forever that I've thought about the fact that one of those countries borders Mexico. I had to stop for a moment and think. I'm like, oh, this does make sense.
It comes up several times in the movie too. Her father has this map that basically is just like the lower half of Texas with the Mexican border.
Yep.
And they're trying to get to New Jersey, and I think he knows how far that is, but she doesn't. And every time she asks him, he's like, yeah.
It'll be a while.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about Texas and how long it takes to get across Texas. Going back to Rotten Tomatoes just very quickly, the consensus for the critics says part harrowing immigration tale, part gangster story. This debut by writer-director Cary Fukunaga is sensitive, insightful, and deeply authentic. And then there's a few quotes that I pulled, which I might refer to at some point. But let's just talk amongst ourselves first. Let's not drag any more of the critics in here. I think, like I alluded to at the beginning of this recording, Alex, I think that now we're hitting a point in our journey where it's not just like, oh, all immigrants are like great.
Yeah.
And I don't know where this idea that immigrants could be a threat is coming from. Obviously, we don't stand for the demonization of immigrants that this administration has undertaken. But when you watch a movie like this that devotes a lot of time to Mexican gangsters living at the border and who seem to either target immigrants or target the border as a place where they can do bad stuff, you can see how this image, the Republican Party can latch onto this image of the immigrant and say, they're all like this, and try to use that to justify their immigration policies.
The right would think this is like a documentary. See? Told you.
But even then, because the people that are actually
which again, to your point, this is like a real thing. It's not to discredit what you're trying to say. It's just the whole idea of like, yeah, but there's a balance.
Well, even the movie is not about Mexican gangsters crossing the border.
No.
It's about a family crossing the border, and they get entangled with Mexican gangsters who are a real thing, yes. And then one of the, where it gets, I guess, even more complex is that one of the Mexican gangsters defects. And now he's crossing the border, not because he dreams of America in the way that the family from Honduras does, but just because he needs to escape. And so crossing the border means that hopefully they can't reach him, his old gang members. So that's, I think it's an interesting setup. I think that to use that scenario to, let's say, dictate your immigration policy would be really dumb.
Yes.
But to use the scenario as a conversation starter, and I think more importantly as a peek into what it might undertake to, what is it like to decide that you're going to cross the border between Mexico and the U.S. illegally? That is kind of eye-opening. I would like to think that some people maybe don't realize how hard it is and, what these families put themselves through, risking their lives. How much do you know, or how much were you aware of, like, the process of crossing the border illegally? Because, I've heard stories. I think this is the first time I've seen it in a movie, or at least in a long time.
I mean, I don't know. I know all the stories that I've heard. Like, I remember in high school, like, people telling me their stories, families, which aren't terribly dissimilar to what happens to our female lead here at the end. I mean, I know it's not just like, it's not what it seems. I think some people of certain persuasions just think it really is someone just like putting a disguise on and like, just quickly like doing the little tiptoes, like trying to sneak across the border, and that's not it. A lot of people just go to the fucking middle of nowhere and like have to find a way to get over. And that was always to me the whole idiotic thing about the wall. It's like this, you just like think, yes, it is the entry points in Texas and California and all the border states and stuff. Yeah, if you want to put a big wall there, that's fine. But like, do you understand how long the border is that separates the United States from Mexico? I don't know. This is like, nothing I saw in this movie like shocked me or like was like, oh, there's no way that's real. Like these are all like things that I remember from a younger age when I first moved to Texas, like hearing parables about, or just like actual firsthand accounts, anecdotes, anything like that, or like tales that were handed down through families and with people I went to high school with and shit. So none of this surprised me. I think this is the thing though, that like people of a certain persuasion don't understand. Yes, bad doers on both sides, et cetera, but in a lot of cases, as history has shown, it's people doing whatever they can to try to just make a better life for themselves or their family, or to get to their family,
I think that that's the catch, that it's a lot easier to have a conversation about whether you should let a Mexican gang member come in illegally, as opposed to the conundrum that is like, oh, this family could really use our help and could really use, safe passage into our country so that they can better themselves and better country in the process of doing that, right? But that conversation is way too complicated because, you really, there's like the pros and cons, like how many immigrants can this country handle? What do we have a system that allows them to be properly assimilated, for lack of a better word, or to assimilate themselves into our culture and all that. That is way too complex. It's a lot easier to just say, no, look at the gangsters. Those are the ones that we need to keep out, build a wall, close the borders, and so on.
Yeah.
I've heard plenty of stories. I used to work at, I remember when that was the last time this came up, but I used to work in Gold Station. I used to work at a couple of restaurants, and there was a fair share of immigrants there. Some here legally, some here illegally. And I remember hearing some stories from them, stories about their families, kind of like looking down that comment section on YouTube. People are saying, well, it's not me, but a friend of a friend went through this. And then, you read about it online, read about it in books and all that stuff. Honestly, seeing this family's journey, it was somehow not as bad as the things that I've heard. I mean, some of it is obviously pretty bad, but especially once it got to the end, I guess in my mind, the process was a lot more like, they hire somebody, that person sticks them in a van and drives them all the way up to the border, and then they go through like the shit. And then if they're lucky, they make it to the other side. This movie, I guess, shows you a lot of what happens before they even get there, which is like a really long train ride. It's kind of a road trip movie because they have to get, I guess, all the way from Honduras, to the border with the U.S. And so there's a lot of it's not pleasant traveling, but it's definitely, they're outdoors.
Yeah.
I guess they're making friends. How do you feel about that segment of their trip? Like, were you thinking road trip movie, or were you like, no, this is too harsh for that?
But when he tried to leave his violent past behind, his own gang put a price on his head, and he met the one person who would change his life forever.
No, dude, the movie starts with all the gang shit, so there's no way. Like, I'm pretty sure Smiley kills that dude before we really get too much into the family trying to get across the border. Smiley being like a fucking 12-year-old boy.
Eventually, we would see a whole bunch of kids killing other people in Beast of No Nation. This is just Fukunaga warming up. We'll start with one. Yeah, the gang stuff starts pretty hard. I was honestly, I guess I had a sense of dread in because I knew that eventually they were going to collide, the gangster plotline and just the story of this family trying to cross the border. So I was like, okay, at what point are they going to meet? Obviously, when they get to Mexico. But before that, I guess it's not like, oh, I'm having fun with a road trip movie. It was more that I was just fascinated because that was a section of the immigration part that I had never really thought about. Just the fact that before you get to like the really bad part that we all hear about, all that stuff with the trains, I was just, that's probably the most memorable thing in the movie for me. Just seeing these masses of people jumping on these trains and traveling at the top. And then whenever there's some stops, there's like little communities on the side that help them out, throw bottles of water at them. As they go by the trees, they have to grab fruit from the trees or take branches so they can make a fire inside the train. All that stuff, I was just, world building. This is the part that I didn't know.
Well, and there's that one village where the kids like throw rocks at them and shit for leaving.
Yeah. Once they get closer, things start getting a little less friendly. But it's like kids on the side of on the Mexican side, which I found interesting that they would have such a negative reaction to just people that are trying to cross the border, I guess. But yeah, then once they got to the really bad stuff, I guess I was a little underwhelmed because I thought it was going to be. Obviously, really bad things happening at the end, but I was surprised that they got to that river so quickly, and that then it was just like, oh, it's just that river. You have to cross that river, and that's kind of it. Were you like a little underwhelmed as they got to the actual border, or was it still?
You have to like toil and fucking traverse just unknown terrain to get to the middle of nowhere, and then once you get over making it happen. That's like a real thing. I guess, I don't know. Maybe I just living in Central Texas for 20-something years, and 25 years almost. I feel like I have a better understanding of it than probably someone watching this in like Davenport, Iowa. But yeah, none of this like surprised me as far as the process. I mean, there's things in the movie that surprised me narratively, but like not like what happens. No, not what happens in terms of telling the story of these people trying to get across the border.
I guess I was just underwhelmed by that river, dude. It just looked like I could walk through it.
Based on like all of my understandings of real situations, that is like a realistic portrayal of, a situation like that.
Man, I guess I just, my imagination run wild.
Yeah, there's probably places you can go over and it's like rapids and shit, but there's also probably places more like that where there's like little communities that assist in doing so.
Well, I'm glad that at least one of us was not underwhelmed by the river at the end of the journey.
Nah, man.
I was like, if they hadn't had like the gangsters hot on their trail, this
Yeah,
would
the
have
timing
been
of that, like I was more underwhelmed with the timing of that being so predictable. Of like, oh, of course, right before like, she's going across, they can only go one at a time, and now as he's waiting, they're gonna come just gun him down.
I was more like, why do they even need the guy with the tire? The guy that's gonna help him cross. It looks safe enough that they could just cross. I mean, I guess if they don't know how to swim, I could see how maybe they could need help, but I don't know. Fukunaga, we're split here, the Contrarians. One pro river, one against the river. I wish it was a little more, it looked a little more dangerous. But I guess when you have a Mexican gang with guns trying to shoot you down, then that's really the main concern.
Not to make light of it, but have you ever seen, I say not to make light of it, that I'm going to. Have you ever seen The Heartbreak Kid with Ben Stiller?
Yes.
You remember that scene where he gets stranded in Mexico and he has to cross the border with them and he like walks with them. So he like develops this really like intense tan. And then he gets like, I think he gets absconded by the border patrol, but they cross a river not unlike that. And there's a part where he's like carrying one of the other people's babies over his head. It's very funny.
Yes.
That movie's not good, but that sequence is funny.
It's been a while since I've watched it, but that's a montage, right? Like it's just you just see
him trying to get back because he splits up with Malin Ankerman like while they're in Mexico and she leaves and maybe has his passport or something and he gets stranded.
Maybe I also have those movies, those type of movies, those type of sequences to blame for this kind of feeling like it wasn't as hard as I expected it to be. But anyway, could you tell, since we're talking about the ending, could you tell that what's the name of our guy? Casper? That Casper, the Mexican defector, was not going to make it? Because you have a pretty good sense about those kind of things.
Yeah, there was like too much. And like at one point I was worried that their female lead, what's her name? Sarah. I was worried that she was going to get it too. Because what happens is he is on this train with him and he realizes he's just going to bring bad if he sticks around. So he hops off in the town where his aunt lives and she hops off to follow him. And I was like, man, he's going to get her killed. But I didn't expect Smiley to be the one to pull the trigger, but he does tell him. What does he say? Maya por vida, homie? Is that what he says to him? Yeah. And, as things like this go, even if he made it across the border, it's what Albert Brooks tells Ryan Gosling in Drive. He's like, the girl is safe, but I can't say the same for you. You're going to be looking over your shoulder the rest of your life. You can't just kill a gang leader and get away scot-free. Now, did he deserve to be gunned down 1,000,000 times in the riverbank there? Probably not. But yeah, I knew.
Or even once, Alex. Or did he? I mean, I don't know. Let's talk about maybe the most.
Well, he clearly had like killed a man before. Like, most likely, unless it was another gang member. But I don't know. Yeah, he admits at one point he knows he fucked his life up and he doesn't want to bring her into that. And so, I mean, he knows it's coming. And I guess that's the most noble thing about his character, or most admirable, is he knows that he deserves it. He doesn't even try to talk Smiley out of it either. He just kind of knows he's met his fate. But yeah, man, live by the sword, die by the sword.
Okay, so that gives us a measure of respect for him. He knows he fucked up, and now he's just trying to get the girl across the border. And he tells her, "Yeah, I'm going with you," but he probably knows all along that it's gonna be a long shot. But does the movie pull the trick of maybe making you forget that he was a hardcore gangster before, or at least it seems like he was? Last FIRF we were talking. No, was it last FIRF? Last FIRF, when we were talking about Sam Rockwell, and you chastised me for falling under Sam Rockwell's spell. How do you feel about this guy?
Tarde o temprano van a encontrarme. La Mara tiene buena memoria.
¿Tienes miedo?
A que me quiebren. Vivo al día.
Oh, this movie doesn't do anything to like. I don't even think Jojo Rabbit does. I think it's just Sam Rockwell's a good actor, and he's even his character acknowledges the bad he's done in that. And same here. Like at no point does Casper Willie Edgar Flores. He never does the shit of like I'm a good guy now, and he never tries to. He consistently reminds not only Sarah but like the audience that he's a bad dude. So no, at no point did I feel remorse or like he's on his fucking redemption tour or anything like that. The biggest thing is too is this movie's runtime is so it's an hour and a half, and so all these things happen in a really quick, concise manner. And I think for the story it's trying to tell, much to the movie's benefit, because it doesn't allow for really these moments of like wonder and like or even wanting like. I don't know. At no point in this movie did I feel I had the time to like see this scenario in which our female and male leads get married together and have kids and everything works out all right. But yeah, to my interpretation of the movie, Casper knew his goose was cooked and it was just pretty much a matter of time.
I guess put a different way, we can see how it's all fair. Like I can see how, you watch things play out and you're like, I mean, that's just kind of how it was going to be. It would have been surprising, unlikely if it played out a different way. But at the same time, let's say that the movie had ended with him making it with her to New Jersey, which was her final destination. Would you have felt a little betrayed? Like,
yes.
That, okay.
Yeah.
You're like, that boy needs to die. He will not make it.
I don't think he needs to die. I more would have been like, man, now he's just putting this girl and her whole family in direct danger. That would have been my qualm with it. He knows that. That's the whole deal of like, that's why he stays behind and he's keeping lookout pretty much until he dies, is just to make sure she makes it okay. Because he knows he got her in that situation and wants her to be all right. And they, to be fair, they see her and they could easily try to take some retribution on her as well, but they let her go. But still, he does the right thing in the end of leading her to where she needs to go and help her on her way, and then kind of accepts his fate. He runs away, but he knows what's coming.
I don't know how far ahead he was thinking. I think he was taking it one step at a time.
Possibly. But yes, if he had made it, I would have been like, bullshit. Or I would have disliked the ending if he went with her to New Jersey.
I am not sure. I mean, I think that they would have had to do something really special for me to not feel like that was a little contrived, like too much of a happy ending. I don't know. I'm kind of like on the fence as far as it goes back to the Jojo Rabbit conversation, where I'm like, what do you do with somebody who was bad and now doesn't want to be bad? What's the path, if there is a path to redemption, so to speak? And you're right. In 90 minutes, you can't pull it off. We've even if we haven't seen him do particularly horrible stuff, we know the people that he was surrounded by. We know that he was pretty cool with them pretty much until they killed his girlfriend. So yeah, the movie would have had to do something extraordinary for me to really see this as some sort of actual redemption for this guy. I think it's interesting how they handle the backstory overall, because you have him, we don't really get any sort of information as far as how did he end up with this gang, which is the kind of backstory that maybe would help you be a little more sympathetic towards him.
Mm-hmm.
But we also don't get it from her. With Saria, we can kind of, because we know of the world, we can assume that, yeah, she's going to the U.S. with her father and her uncle, because that will be a better situation than whatever's happening with her in Honduras. But we don't see exactly what's happening with her in Honduras. You just kind of assume, you have to make that assumption. And I think that there's a longer version of this movie that would give you more information about that, which would in turn maybe inform how you feel about the fact that this family is crossing the border or wants to cross the border illegally. If you justify it, spend more time justifying it, then maybe for some people it'd be easier to accept. You'd be like, oh, of course they have to cross the border because they're being chased by gangsters, for example. But we don't really know that. All we know is that, this father has come back for his daughter and his brother, and they're gonna travel, and they seem like pretty nice people, and so we're kind of rooting for them to do it. But maybe there are people that are a little less open-minded than you and I, Alex, and they just watch the movie, and their main reaction through most of it would be like, well, why are they trying to cross the border to begin with? Do you think that, this movie could have used more backstory, or are you cool with just the 90 minutes we got?
Yeah, I don't need much more than this. I'm sorry if that's... I don't know. I watch a movie like this, and I'm not really starved for more context. That's the whole point. That's why I was talking about. Movies like this don't really exist anymore. And I'm sure they do, technically, or literally, rather. But yeah, what's wrong with this? Just being plopped in dead center to these people's existences and, this tough situation they're in. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't want much more than this. This movie's fucking brutal, dude. That was the thing I started yesterday, and I was just like, just really stressed about a lot in my life right now. And I got to the part where there was the attempted rape and then led to this woman dying. And I was like, I can't watch this right now. So yeah, I don't want more of this. I just, the story it told was sufficient for me. Not to turn away and be like, oh, I don't want to, watch things that depict, real life, or things that potentially happen in real life, or things that have happened in real life. But it's just, for this story, I mean, it's effective in saying what it wants to say and telling what it wants to tell.
Imagine watching it knowing that it's the director of Beast of No Nation.
That would have been that would have been an even bigger like hurdle to get over, because I would have known like shit was coming up.
It's like, how much worse is it gonna get? It's pretty harrowing.
It's not as brutal as Beast of No Nation. I'll give it that.
No, but if you don't know, you can assume that it's gonna get as bad as it does in that movie.
True.
I was a little annoyed, and I understand that these are young people. But I was a little annoyed by Casper's girlfriend. Was her name Marta, I think?
Marta Martin? That was Marta Marlene, that's it. Because it was a full name. Or every time he addressed her, he would say her full name.
Yeah. Just because of how clueless she seemed about the danger surrounding her. I mean, those dudes are like, not to discriminate or, generalize, but generally people with, if you see people that look a little dangerous, a little rough around the edges, and they're full on with tattoos and they have guns, not an ideal situation. And she just kind of waltzes in more than once.
They're hosting their meeting in a cemetery. Might not be the best idea, girl.
I was annoyed because then our protagonist or co-protagonist, Saria, she also seems to be a little naive as far as the ways of the world. It's the opposite of what you're saying. He knows. Casper seems to know exactly what the danger is of them being together. And she just follows him almost blindly. She literally says, like, all that matters is that, I'm safe if I'm with you. And it's the complete opposite. and I understand, part of it has to be a little bit of hero worship. He saves her life. And then after that, she's just kind of smitten.
¿Te vas a quedar aquí en la noche?
Vaya. Vaya.
Si hay comida por ahí, te la traigo al rato.
That part is like, that's coming too, by the way, where he kills the, what's the leader's name?
It's not El Sol. El Sol is the guy that takes over.
El Sol takes over.
Is it Lil Mage, Lil Mago?
Lil Mago? Yeah, that sounds right. It's coming. It's the babyface turn you can sense, but it's still pretty shocking when it happens. He just fucking decks him in the side of the throat with a machete, and the dude just starts fucking spurting. And then when, because he spares Smiley, and he tells him, just get off the train, and Smiley paces down and finds this dude dead, and his leg had been run over, and he's in a bad way. It's this movie does not spare on the violence, I'll say that.
Yeah, because earlier you see them kill a captive gang member from a rival gang, and then there's the brutal ending. They shoot him up. There's a shootout halfway through the movie too. It has one of the rare funny moments. You remember when they're shooting at Smiley?
I know exactly what you're talking about. They're shooting at Smiley and this gang member that's kind of, a remote member of the gang. And whatever gang they're in a shootout with, he said, "Don't worry, they have shit aim." And he goes to peek his head around the car, and the guy shoots like right in front of him, and he goes, "Except for that one." Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Why am I laughing?
That is like the moment of levity in the movie.
I think there might have been one more, but I can't remember. I just remember the feeling of like, this is like a tiny little oasis in this sea of just grimness. Could you tell that his old employer, the woman that feeds him and gives him a shower, could you tell that she was going to betray him?
I mean, it didn't surprise me. I didn't call it straight on, but money talks, I suppose.
I mean, once you kind of get into the genre, you look past the dressing of the immigration story, that it's just, you realize it's a chase movie, and so it kind of follows the tropes of the chase movie and I guess a bit of a gangster movie. Then it's just those kind of things, you spot them. And I mean, I think it's a valiant effort in the sense that it takes a subject matter that's very serious. I mean, it's always been serious. Perhaps, it feels more serious now, more pressing. And then it builds a more standard thriller around it. So, yeah, for 90 minutes, I'll just watch these people run away from these bad guys and then, get a bittersweet ending. I probably would have liked the movie better if it was more, if I just, I guess, left with more at the end. We see them on their travels. She makes it. He doesn't make it. And then kind of like closing down the montage, we see that her uncle. So what happens is they get separated, right? When Casper jumps off the train to be by himself, she follows him. So that means that her dad, her uncle, and the guy that was with them, they're on their own. And then later on, they are running away. They're still on the train, but they're about to get stopped by immigration officers. And so in the ensuing kerfuffle, the dad falls off the train. So the dad dies. And then the uncle is apprehended. And they say he's deported. And then at the end of the movie, we see the uncle once again getting ready to like cross the border. And then the other thing we see is that Smiley, having finally killed somebody, killed Casper, he's getting his first tattoo. So now he's like legit a gang member.
On the inside of his lip, yeah.
So you're the real deal. So I'm like, I get it, we get closure on pretty much everything. Casper's dead. And then she calls the number that her dad had told her to memorize, which is, if I'm not mistaken, is the phone number of his dad's current wife or spouse, partner. And, because he told her, even if you get lost, you call this number and this lady, she's going to take care of you. So that's kind of like a happy ending for her. But I don't know. I mean, how do you feel at the end, Alex? Because I felt myself a little empty. I was like, this was exciting. This was, engaging. I liked everything. I didn't like the river, but overall, I was like, this was a good movie. But when it was over, I was like, all right.
Yeah, I don't think it's supposed to be rah-rah.
Well, it needed to be rah-rah, but I guess I don't know that I got a whole lot of insight into either the immigration experience or the gang member experience. I guess it could be one of those things where, as you like to say, they just put the elements out there and then you can take from them what you will. And maybe what's there for the taking is stuff that I took a long time ago. So I don't really, I guess I didn't need this movie to tell me that immigrants are human. And then I don't know that it does any much more than that. I don't know. When it was over, I was like, I'm not sure how Cary Fukunaga feels about any of this other than like the most surface level. Those guys are bad. This family was innocent. I don't know. Am I being too harsh?
I don't know if you're being too harsh. You might be looking for something that's not there. I don't know if this is one of those movies that is. At no point did I feel like it was really trying to say something more than telling this story. Perhaps someone else has a different read. And it sounds like you do, but yeah, I didn't really feel at any point this was trying to make some profound statement. I think it was just trying to tell the story it wanted to tell, utilizing some pretty realistic devices, I guess I would say. And,
it resonated with those people that were commenting on the YouTube.
If you want to, you can go into that. I was about to say, if you want to look into something about it, you could say, like, goddamn, look at what these people put themselves through, like, to try to come to America to make a better life for themselves. And that's the whole thing of, like, fucking boomers. Like, is America the best place to live in the world? No. Is it the worst place to live in the world? Absolutely not. So yes, there are still people that in Mexico and from South American countries will try to work their way up to get into to Mexico, to America, to make a better life for themselves. There's still people from Mexico that are trying to get over here, and it's, look, the discussion we're having here is, does that bring some bad with it? Of course it does, but there's still people like Sarah in this movie, and even Willie to some extent, Casper, who's just trying to, the idea of like starting fresh and doing good and whatnot. It's, I guess, for what we're talking about here with our immigrants and fascist theme here, I think this movie, if you want to look deep enough into it, does show that, yes, there are bad people that may try to get into America illegally. There are bad people all over the world. I hate to burst any bubbles that people have out there, but there are also people that in their journey to get to America just for the possibility of having a better life for themselves, literally lose family members. This girl's dad died on the way of trying to get in here. And, but again, that's if I wanted to look into it and just like to talk about the things that, our journey is about. But for me, this movie just felt like, here it is. This is the movie. This is the story we're telling. And when it's over, don't really think about it more. But if Cary was here, he might argue that.
From executive producers Diego Luna and Gael Garcia Bernal comes the first film from one of cinema's most exciting new voices.
Well, I think I figured it out, or at least I came closer to figure it out as you were expressing your thoughts. I think you kind of unlocked it, because I have forgotten about the title, which I wrote down, Sin Nombre. It's like without name or nameless. And that is really, it's the In America effect, Alex. Remember how in America, I complained that the title of the movie made it sound like the movie was going to be about, very specific like thing, that the movie wasn't quite about that. And I think that's a little bit, there's a little bit of that here.
Mm.
The idea, I really like the idea of calling your movie, let's say Nameless. And it's a movie about how to many people on this side, and in the United States, it's just like this blurry mass of immigrants. That's all you know. They're all nameless, they're faceless, but then you zoom in to their specific stories and you find something like the story of these people. And there's the good and the bad and the losses and, whatever gains they have as far as connection. So I think that that's the movie I wanted. I guess even if I wasn't really thinking about it, that's when it was over. Maybe I wanted more of that. I find it such a rich subject matter. The idea that you can have, oversimplifying, that you can have good immigrants and bad immigrants, and that they can travel together, and that they might make it into the country together, and how we handle that. How do we feel about that? But this movie kind of doesn't really quite get there. The good immigrant makes it. The bad immigrant, I guess, helps her. Well, no, the really bad immigrants, are killing people. And then the guy that's kind of is a bad immigrant but is trying to be good, helps her out. But then he dies, so we don't really have to think about it anymore. Yeah, I guess it's kind of on me because I wanted a deeper exploration. Or I guess I was just expecting it, maybe because that's most of the movies that we've done on FIRF so far have been a little richer. And this was a little more just... it's a thriller. It's a chase movie. Really, really good cast though. Do you have a standout? Because I think Paulina Gaiman, who plays Sarah, I think that she kind of walks away with the movie, even though everybody else is also pretty good.
Yeah, everyone's really good. For like Casper and Smiley, and I mean all the gangsters. Like it's the stoic thing that the movie's asking of them. So it may not be the most range, and we only have, X amount of people in this movie to begin with. So I think, it's Paulina's movie to take, but all very good, all very believable.
I'll tell you, I was very grateful for the subtitles because I speak Spanish. I'm fluent in Spanish. In fact, it's my first language. But between the accent, which I guess I'm not used to, Honduras accent, and the slang, because there was a lot of slang. I read somewhere that Fukunaga did the research to try to, and might have even ran the script by a couple of actual gang members, so that the dialogue was very authentic. the thing is, like, half the time I couldn't really tell what they were saying in Spanish. So the subtitles kind of like held my hand and walked me through it, which is wild. I've had that happen to me with movies in English, where let's say the Scottish accent might have been like really thick, but in Spanish, this might be a first. But thankfully, I mean, I was still able to appreciate the performances. It's not like that got in the way. And yeah, I really liked it. If nothing else, I walk away with an appreciation of performances and also appreciation of the way that this guy shot the trip, the journey. Some of those shots while they're traveling are very beautiful, even though there's a lot of like ugliness in the story. Just those shots of like the train going towards the horizon and the way that the sky looks, and I guess just people, traveling together and helping each other. I mean, that kind of stuff I thought that it looked great. So if I had seen this movie, I would have said like, oh, that guy, I hope that he directs more things because they're gonna be, if nothing else, great to look at. What is your score, Alex?
I mean, it's like a maybe like a sturdy B. Like I don't. It's rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and I think a solid B is a good review for it because this movie at no point I don't think either tries to go above and beyond to become something great. It's just kind of an unflinching story that is presented quick and fucking to the point, and just like a punch in the face. Here it is. So I really enjoyed it, relatively speaking. It's not like it's a fun watch, but it flies by for its runtime. The acting is really good, and I think you can take it at face value, or if you want, you can read a little bit more into it and take away from it. I think there is some deeper meaning to what happens here. I just don't know how deep it wants to go. I'm
gonna go with 3.5 stars. I can't help who I am, Alex. I was a little let down by the ending, and I've done my best to articulate why, and I'm still not sure that I quite nailed it, but it has to do with that. It has to be. I think that given the elements, given the setup, that ending is a little shallow. But overall, a recommendation from both Contrarians for Sin Nombre. If you haven't watched Cary Fukunaga's debut, then hopefully you will now. Alex, do you know what happens next?
I'm sure you've told me, but I don't know what is imminently in store.
Well, I mean, as far as the main feed, actually, we leave FIRF so that we can close down our summer event. So you know what that is. Mm-hmm. Orson Welles is The Other Side of the Wind. So that's coming up immediately on the feed. Now, as far as FIRF, as I've done the last couple of times, Alex, I'm going to give you a choice. Because it's time to reach into the Rotten Fascists bag and do a Rotten Fascist movie. So there is a movie from Chile, I think. It's called El Conde, which was, I think, nominated for Best International Picture a few Oscars ago. Mm-hmm. So that is option number 1. And option number 2 is a movie I don't know anything about called Mephisto, like the Marvel Comics supervillain. But I don't think it's an MCU movie.
Well, I guess time will tell.
Are you choosing El Conde or Mephisto?
Well, hold on. I got to look them up. See, how do you spell El Conde?
E-L space C-O-N-D-E.
And Mephisto. Not to be confused with Lufisto, the female independent wrestler. Movie.
Would it be Lufista?
Nazi Germany. We've done that. Cabaret and Jojo Rabbit. Let's do this El Conde movie. Okay.
El Conde. Chile. That's good. I'm excited. I think it's the same filmmaker. Well, we'll look into it. I think it's somebody that I know. All right. Alex said so it shall be done. El Conde coming up next on FIRF. But before that, Orson Welles and the spectacular finale to our summer event. You're welcome. As always, thank you to Corey and Zoe for all their work behind the scenes. And thank you to Jordan Cooper for the intro and outro music. You can check out his website, jordancoopermusic.com. You can check out his podcast, Don't Let's Start, a podcast about the band They Might Be Giants. And you can check his band on Bandcamp, Troubles Afoot. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Zoe. Thank you, Corey. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Alex, let's get out of here.
Let's do.